Now put your hands together for co-founder and CEO of Grove Collaborative, Stu Landesberg. Interviewed by VP of Content at Groceryshop, Joe Laszlo.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everybody. Stu, you brought props. I love a prop conversation.
Any
good.
consumer products executive who doesn't bring products with him or does not have enough confidence in what they're selling.
So let's start with the most recent news, I guess, about Grove. Congratulations, as of September 6th, you closed a Series D round. You are now officially a unicorn, as they call them, $1 billion in valuation. Did you throw a big unicorn party?
We did not throw a big unicorn party. I think we really try to stay focused on the consumer. I think Silicon Valley, sometimes deservedly, gets a little bit of a bad rap for celebrating valuation milestones rather than value delivered to the consumer. And so it's, as a mission-driven business, it's really nice to get that kind of validation that businesses that support the well-being of communities and the planet, not just those who are going after profit, are able to achieve some level of validation from investors, but it was a great milestone, but focused on the consumer.
Sure. It's nice if you can both do well and do good and do well, or do well financially and do well for the planet at the same time, right? But let's take a step back. Why don't you say a couple of words about Grove and kind of why you started it?
Sure. So Grove really got started when I was about 8 years old, and I thought a consumer products brand that I love very much called Seventh Generation was the biggest company in the world. When you're 8 years old, you look around, you're like, okay, I've got one product from Ford in the driveway, I've got one product from Coca-Cola in the fridge, and my parents, being a little bit hippie-ish at the time, had 20 products from Seventh Generation underneath the sink. I was like, well, that must be the biggest company in the world. Then fast forward, had the privilege of spending time at a company called TPG Capital, looking at consumer, retail, and internet, and saw this incredible opportunity because what's on shelf at retail often doesn't reflect the fact that 70% of consumers want conscientious products. 70% of consumers prefer conscientious product. And so had the insight that at the intersection of these two trends, conventional to natural and offline to online, there was the opportunity to build a really big scale business that also had material positive impact.
So you're an online store that offers household products that are better for you, better for the planet, kind of good in some ways.
Sure. So Grove's mission is to help all families create a home that reflects the best of themselves. We do that by making it really easy to find home and personal care products that are healthy for your family, safe for the planet. We offer a curated mix of the best third-party national sort of natural brands, and half of our sales are products that we develop in-house across 5 brands that we own.
Yeah, let's talk about your own brands in just a second, but how many third-party brands do you work with, and do you aim to kind of just pick the best of the best and kind of curate on behalf of customers, or would you rather offer them kind of a whole wide range of choices if there were companies that met your criteria?
So we have about 1,000 SKUs overall, and about 60 third-party brands are represented there, and we think that half of the consumers coming to Grove are totally new to the category, never shopped natural in our category before. And so one of the things that really we work hard on is how do you build the trust to overcome decision paralysis? And when you type in laundry detergent, you see 30, 50, 100 natural laundry detergents. It's really hard to know where to go. And so we believe that trust and curation go hand in hand in creating a really wonderful customer experience. And we've actually been able to bring new people to the category by offering a really well-curated approach. Of course, that requires a lot of work upstream to make sure that every product we sell is excellent.
Yeah, what's the evaluation process like for that? Do you have like a quantitative kind of checklist that you work through? Is it more kind of getting to know you, kind of touchy-feely with the reps from the product companies?
The answer is yes, right? It has to be a combination of hard science around what ingredients are okay and what ingredients are not okay, right? Making sure that folks are prioritizing plant-based formulas and bio-based ingredients, using recycled content in the packaging. But we also realize that it'll take 20, 50, 100 years, well, hopefully not 100, 20 years to transform an industry that's relied on a lot of plastic, a lot of packaging. and trained the consumer in a certain way, it'll take a little bit of time for us to transition. And so when we think about who we want to partner with, we're most excited to find brands who are looking with the 10 to 20 year view and thinking about a category that's created a massive amount of waste and pollution and a massive amount of negative externalities, and how we can change that over the long term together.
Yeah. So let's talk about own brands then, and kind of what prompts Grove to decide to create a product? Do you look for holes where like the seventh generations of the world aren't making something that your customers want, or are there other impetuses that prompt you to do an own brand?
So the company's long-term vision is that consumer products will be a positive force for human and environmental health. That's more good, not just less bad. And we want to achieve this mission with the help of our partners. And as we look out at the landscape, we have a number of really awesome advantages that traditional players in our industry haven't had. The biggest one being that we speak directly to our consumers. We have a team of Grove Guides, just as an example, sort of like personal concierges, about 150 to 200 of these folks, and they have 50,000 unique customer conversations every week. Super powerful. And so because we have this direct relationship with the consumer, and we're not reliant on brick and mortar, we're able to design form factors, tell stories, and really drive innovation that would struggle to see the kind of sales that might make it work at retail, but for us can be a core pillar of what we do. A great example of that, last summer we launched Sealing, which is a brand of tree-free paper products, paper towels, bath tissue, napkins, facial tissue. Really sort of focused on how do we take this category, which has had a really massive negative impact over a long time, and make it a positive one. And so we have a video on this, which hopefully we can see now.
I think.
A lot of trees.
Yes, it's a lot of trees. Paper towels and toilet paper wipe out 94,000 trees every day. To clean up our messes, we're doing damage to the planet. So we're growing a sustainable future for home paper. Introducing Seedling, a line of sustainably produced toilet paper, paper towels, and tissues. It's absorbent, strong, and tree-free. Instead of trees, it's made from bamboo and sugarcane. Two grasses that are plentiful and grow fast. And they work great. The two-ply construction captures moisture without compromising strength. Our jumbo rolls last 2 to 3 times as long as the supermarket brands. Plus, a portion of every purchase will fund the planting of new trees in the U.S., the Seedling Promise. For every 50 rolls, we'll plant a tree. Our goal? 100,000 new trees in the first year. Good on messes, good for your budget, good for the planet, a better paper for a better world. Seedling by Grove.
Yeah, that's a great spot. I like it.
So like, makes me smile every time I see that video, and I am grateful for the response. And it's amazing, right? The response to something, people think of environmental issues as potentially being colored by geography or income or politics. I mean, that's an emotion that anyone can connect to, right? Thinking about the next generation. So this is one that we launched last summer and has exceeded our expectations, but you can imagine how challenging it is to get that emotion connected with the consumer in any medium other than video, right? And we can connect this video directly to the purchase path, and so invest in product education. And that message is fairly nuanced, right? Bamboo and sugarcane are grasses, not trees. They grow fast. They sequester 5 times as much carbon as the traditional softwood in the paper industry. It's a lot to communicate, but the magic of having that direct connection means that we can build brands that rely on education in a way that's beyond what's ever been possible before. And I think if I can get some slides here.
You're good.
Great. And you can see, so in the first year, the goal was 100,000 trees, and we'll actually end up planting 250,000 because we're so far ahead of our own projections for the category. So really an example of an innovation that's great for the consumer with a super strong environmental impact, environmental message, but really one that's resonated across an enormous variety of consumers. And we've sold millions of units of Seedling across all the formats.
That's fantastic. So that's about plants and kind of trees and paper products. Maybe we should talk about kind of what you're doing around kind of the plastic that all of these cleaning products come enveloped in.
Yeah, totally. It's huge topic. And laundry alone, something like 1 billion plastic laundry detergent bottles will end up in landfills in the ocean. In 2019 in the US alone, something like 5 billion cleaning bottles will be thrown away this year. And these categories, super important, right? We're not going to convince people to stop using laundry detergent, and we shouldn't.
Yes.
But there's opportunity to really change what the categories look like. Shelf presence has been important for so long and has led to some of the strongest brands maybe that have ever existed that are in this category. But because we're in a digital environment, we can use a really different business model. So this, I have it here, you can see the little GIF playing. This is our glass laundry vessel that you can use for your whole life. And then you buy sort of a super concentrated, I feel like I'm like Vanna White or something, super concentrated laundry detergent here. And part of the magic is, okay, how do you get people to use a reusable vessel? Part of the magic is how do you get consumers to adopt a super concentrated format? And so the vessel we worked on for over 2 years, a bunch of patented technology in there, and it doses out just 2/3 of an ounce at a time, which is like a tiny amount of laundry detergent. And so the combination of consumer trust and storytelling allows us to make a number of innovations at once that really move the category to a place where it's still a great product for the consumer. Our product's wildly efficacious, but ends up using 80% less plastic than conventionals. Another sort of super easy one is everyone can imagine a bottle of glass or all-purpose cleaner or whatever it is, and you're probably like, this is kind of mostly water, and that product is mostly water. And so instead of sending all of those hard surface cleaners around, this is an all-purpose cleaner from Grove. It's 1 ounce. It's like noticeably smaller than whatever 16 or 24 ounce bottle of hard surface cleaning liquid you sort of grew up with. And so this is 95% less plastic. It's an extremely high quality product with organic essential oils, and I could drink it, it would be okay.
Please don't.
And it's one that's driven has had a ton of consumer adoption. It's a better product, lighter environmental footprint, lower cost. And so through efforts like the laundry and form factors like this that reduce plastic waste so much, Grove will save 1 million pounds of plastic in 2019 alone. And I am really excited and optimistic for the ability to continue to scale that and see that number go up in years to come.
That's awesome. One of the things I really like about that spot is the tone, right? I think a lot of times when consumers hear a sustainability message, it's kind of much more guilt-inducing or hits you over the head. This is a very subtle moment where the woman in the vignette at the beginning, she's kind of having a realization on her own that maybe there are things she needs to change. Talk a little bit about the Grove customer first, and then a little bit about how you kind of hit that right tone.
Sure. So Grove is all about celebrating the amazing choices people are making across the country about the products that we're bringing into our homes, right? It is a big deal, these categories to our core consumer, who is most often the sort of homemaker. I mean, homemaking is really core to that consumer's identity, and we really want to celebrate what it means to be a good homemaker. And so when I tell folks that we're a natural products company, direct consumer marketing through the internet, people assume that our customer base is New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Boston, LA, DC. In practice, we do just as well in Kansas as we do in California. Our best 3 zip codes are in Texas, Tennessee, and Utah. It is not a phenomenon. The desire to be a good homemaker, to care for one's family, to be thoughtful in our consumption, we have found is not limited to anyone psychographic or coast or political sort of orientation. It really is widespread and broad-based.
That's really, really important and surprising, actually, right? I mean, because I think there is that assumption that kind of the coasts are where that sentiment is strongest. How do you teach people? When somebody does have that moment, they're like, maybe I should change some of the things I'm doing in my life. Like how do you position Grove to be at the right place when somebody has that thought and goes looking for answers?
We're really, it's an amazing moment in time that people are looking for answers in this category. It is where people are thinking about how can I be more sustainable? How can I bring healthier products into our homes? People weren't even educated about most of that stuff 5-10 years ago. The rate of change overall is incredible. And I think one of the things that has allowed Grove to scale quickly is that we get most of our new customers through some sort of trusted referral. So, our single biggest acquisition channel is unpaid, right? Which is a combination of people typing Grove directly in, or you send your friend a free gift and get $10, right? All of that tracked referral stuff. But there's just an incredible amount of word of mouth because people like to talk about the good choices that we're making, right? It's a thing that signals behavior in line with the best version of ourselves. And so I think one of the things that's been wonderful for us as we've scaled is, yes, we leverage a diversified acquisition mix and a diversified marketing mix from everything from paid social to Google to direct ads to television. But the biggest channel for us now and has always been trusted referral and trusted recommendation from person to person or influencer to person or whatever it is. I think that core of trust really does serve as a thing. We keep coming back to it because it's the element around which all of the value sort of revolves.
Yeah, great. Let's shift gears and talk really quickly about being a purpose-driven brand. Or I've heard you use the word conscientious brand, which I like. It's sort of a little bit of a different angle on it. But rather than kind of talking about the public-facing part of that, tell me about like your recruitment process. Like how do you in your interview process identify prospective employees who share your ideals or will embrace them?
Yeah. The people are the most important thing at Grove, and I should say any level of success we've achieved is because of the extraordinary teammates and colleagues that I've had along the way. I had a mentor say to me early in my career that if you run a conscientious business, you're going to attract conscientious customers, conscientious partners, and conscientious teammates. And that's really been true. I think the economy is good, the fight for talent, particularly folks who have expertise in direct consumer businesses, it's really extreme, and we are able to find I believe the highest quality talent in the world, in part because of the connection to the company's mission. And so there is really sort of a self-selection of, some people who are really excellent are looking for the job where they're going to make the most cash this year. Mm-hmm. And some people are looking for the place where they can make the most impact. And, we really over-index on the folks who want to make an impact. And I think that's been extremely helpful from a scaling the culture, employee retention, all of these sort of under the covers pieces that have to fall into place to build and scale a large organization.
Yeah. What about from an investment perspective? When you just closed a round, so you're clearly successful at that, but have there been conversations where somebody just hasn't gotten that you do things the way you do them?
There's definitely been plenty of investors who it's clear would prioritize a short-term win over an action that's aligned with our long-term vision. But I think we're very fortunate to have an investor base that shares the company's perspective that this is a category that we can transition from offline to online, from conventional to natural, from form factors that are massively wasteful to form factors and business models like seedling that actually put trees back in the ground. I think that is a long-term transition, a long-term business plan, a long-term objective. And we are explicit about that and therefore are fortunate to have wonderful partners who don't see this as a quick trade around how do you acquire the next customer, make the next buck, but really about how do we position Grove in such a way that we can catalyze the change we want to see in the industry along with our partners over the next 5, 10, 20, God willing, 100 years.
Nice. We're running low on time, but I do want to talk a little bit about the future. You just acquired a company called Sustain. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of growing Grove that way over time?
Sure. So Sustain is a period care and sexual wellness business based out of New York, started by a young woman named Mika Hollander, who is a friend of mine that I've known for a long time. And Sustain is one of 5 brands that we own. And as we think about our own brand portfolio, we think about how we communicate messages to our consumer that are authentic and impactful in categories that are impactful to his or her life. And period care and sexual wellness have a huge environmental impact and are a category where to say the landscape around regulation and disclosure of ingredients is immature would be overly generous. And so Sustain was a leader in terms of organic ingredients, really leading a campaign for ingredient disclosure across the industry. And so when the opportunity came about to add that message to Grove so that we can tell a story authentically through that brand in a way that doesn't really fit necessarily from the Grove elevated home brand, it was one we were excited about, and so yeah, that brand sort of we are in the process of integrating it, and so far our consumer reaction has been exceptional.
So that's fantastic. Do you think that that's a way that you're going to grow? Do you see other sort of categories, without giving anything away, other categories where you'd like to broaden the product portfolio? We're
always looking at M&A as a way to accelerate the timeline to bring great product to the consumer. When we look at M&A, it's really about how do we find the best product in market, because we have such a wonderful and loyal base of folks who trust us to bring that to them. So we look at M&A as a part of that strategy, and I think in general, we see the market opportunity as enormous, and so we will absolutely think about categories in which we can add value to her life in addition to the sort of core home and personal care categories that we're in today.
Right, kind of always keeping true to Grove's ethos of sustainability, being better for people, better for the world.
Exactly. I think we believe that there's a huge swath of the consumer base, not just in the US, but globally, that's going to transition from the products that our parents use to products that are more aligned with a deeper look into the ingredients and impact of the product. And we see Grove as sitting at the focal point of that transition from legacy to natural, or legacy to whatever the next evolution of product is. And so we think that's one that where we can affect change, not just in the categories where we are today, but if we do well, God willing, in many categories for many, many consumers to come over the coming years.
Yeah. Well, Stu, the 20 minutes has flown by. Thank you so much for joining me on stage, and congratulations again.
Thanks so much, Joe. Thank you, everyone.